Hello everybody, time for standard game number 7. I'm going to record myself playing live with audio commentary, setting the seek right now for 20 minutes and 20-second interval, or increment, excuse me, and we'll start as soon as the game starts. Alright, we've got a 1665 player today. I'm going to play French. You'll see a lot of that from me. One of my favorite things to do. No particular reason. Just something I selected and I want to be good at some point, so I'm going to keep playing it until I am. It's the stubborn side of me, maybe. And he goes into the exchange variation. If you watched my videos before, you know this is my favorite thing in the world. Sarcasm. Alright. Do I want to do that? Alright, so let's get a long-term plan before I just start blitzing moves out. I want a bishop on d6. I probably want my light square bishop on c5. I don't know if that's going to come before knight bd7. I want c3. This is kind of my standard setup in the exchange French. It works fairly universally. It's just a question of move order. So what I'm going to do is prevent him from taking the f4 square. This will kind of give me some more options. I think this gives me more options than some other move orders do. Sort of limit his choices a little bit. Alright, here we just play c6. I said c3 earlier, I meant c6. Now if he plays c5, I think it's a mistake. And I'm just going to play back to c7. It keeps me on this diagonal, which is where I really want. It resolves the tension in the center. Alright. It's worth noting here that I don't think that, even though this is attacked twice, I don't think it's a big deal. If takes, and then he takes with the knight, well, no, it doesn't really work, does it? Bishop b4 check is not an exposure or a discovered attack because the knight covers b4. So we're going to have mirrored isolated queen pawns here.
Check.
Alright, here I'm happy to exchange my light square bishop. Alright, let's think about what we're doing here. Yeah, I think this is fine. I was looking at bishop c7 and then queen e2, but I think I can just back up this bishop here and I'm okay. One problem with bishop c7 is that now I'm starting to get a lot more in the way of my queen's defense of d5. Bishop c7 also gets in the way of knight bd7. Bishop d7 gets in the way of knight bd7, sorry. But say I do that and he leaves it takes, and then I'm probably going to need to play my bishop back here, and my defense of c7 is a little precarious, but I can probably play knight a6 and be okay. So already this is a little bit fishy, but I think I'm fine. We'll see how he reacts to that.
Check.
Alright, now this just speeds my development and trades away the bishop that I didn't want as much anyway. Now in the exchange French, that bishop's not nearly as bad as it is in the closed French variations, like the advance and the Tarrasch and all those sorts of things. We still have some queen b6, queen c7 type things coming. Castle is probably next, probably for both of us. So far, I'm happy. I don't particularly jump for joy at the prospect of an isolated queen pawn, but he's got one as well. And what I'm going to do now is move off the diagonal of that bishop. A couple of options are knight b6 hitting the b2 pawn. Also looks at the d4 pawn, but there's no real potential attack on that for a while. But it gets out of this pin. So queen b6 is an option. Queen c7 is an option. Queen c7 is on the open c file, so queen c1 is a little annoying. There's no real threat on f2 for a while. Or f2, h2. Queen b6 blocks maybe a potential place where this knight could move to. I think queen p6 is a little better. Just it's, you know, let me think for just a bit here. If I go queen b6, he's likely to play b3. If he plays b3, bishop b4 doesn't do anything, does it? I'm looking at queen b6, b3, bishop b4, and rook c1 probably. Rook c8. I think this all seems fine. It looks like this gets a little initiative because he has to react, and then I can maybe get kind of a tempo ahead, more or less. We also have to look at these silly things like knight e5, which I run into quite often, being really annoying. Whereas if I take it, like here, it's not a problem. And I'm talking about after I move my queen away. Knight e5, knight takes e5, and then d takes e5. And if that pawn is supported enough, then that's a fork here of these two pieces. So queen c7 would also restrict some movement of my bishop here. So looking at queen c7 and then whatever. No. Okay, it's fine. Let's go queen b6. I think queen b6 is the move here. It's important to get out of that pin because there's only one piece protecting d5 right now, and that was that knight. So if bishop takes knight, knight takes knight, and I'm still protecting. And then we have maybe some of those problems with knight e5. Yeah, I really hate the exchange French. Should learn the Caro-Kann, or Caro-Kann, however you say it. Here I think he needs to play b2 or rook b1. He plays queen d2, which seems to fit the bill as well. And now I want to stick my rooks on the open files, the E file and the C file. He has kind of walked into that pin on b4 though here, hasn't he? Bishop b4. Bishop b4, a3, and I'm forced to either retreat or take it. Because I can't go to a5 because of b4. What about jumping up to e4 here? I think I need to play rook e8 and e4 as a plan. I might just play rook e8 here. Rook e8, or yeah, rook e8 and then rook c8 later. And we have things like bishop b4, knight e4 are possible. We'll see. So, what are some active things that he could be doing? He still has that knight e5 idea, but I think it's stopped sufficiently right now. I have 3 pieces guarding e5. Is there anything to worry about with an h-file attack? I could just play h6 at some point. probably need to. Right now I'm not going to jump at any shadows because I have other things to do. He could potentially play knight f4. Bishop f4, trading off my good bishop for his, what would be his bad bishop. There's nothing there preventing me from moving the bishop to, say, f8 or something, or going ahead and playing bishop b4. But bishop b4, a3 would mean I'd have to trade it for the knight instead, or shoot it all the way back to e7 or f8. Okay, it seems fine to me. Totally expected, or totally within line of what I would expect, I should say it that way. It doesn't seem like he has as much of a grip on e4 as I have on e5. Is there some way to exploit that? For instance, right now, knight e4, knight takes, pawn takes, and things are weird in the center. Things are really weird in the center if I do that. What about knight e4, knight takes, rook takes, then rook takes and pawn takes, and then I can play rook e8 to support it. But it's still weird. Things in the center are much more fluid, and I'm not sure about tactics in that position. So just creating an active plan here is difficult, but it's typical for the exchange French for me. So what I'm going to do probably is rook ac8 and just get my rooks as active as I can make them. And then we're going to look at things like h6 and see how he reacts. Just because this is such a boring position. So boring. So looking at knight e4, knight takes, and then all those lines. So let's look at real quick. Knight e4, knight takes e4, pawn takes e4, d takes e4, and the knight on f3 needs to move. You don't see that that's... Yeah, here we go. Alright, let's calculate here, because my brain tells me he's hung a pawn, but what does that do for us? Knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, or bishop takes first to prevent any shenanigans on f6. So bishop takes, and if he plays bishop takes, I play bishop takes. So that wouldn't work for him. Bishop takes, pawn takes, knight takes, and I'm up a pawn. Then he plays bishop takes, and I've got queen takes. So this seems to maybe lose a pawn for him. Or wait, let's look at that again, because did I take the pawn in that line? Bishop takes, pawn takes, knight takes. Yes, I did. Bishop takes, queen takes, and I'm up a pawn. At the end of all that, probably knight takes here. Almost surely. So I'm not up a pawn. But it seems like that's what I need to do, because I can't allow that knight to stay there. So let's do that and see what happens. right? So he's going to win the d5 pawn in exchange for all this. But man, I'm trying to think if there isn't some in-between move. Right now, he's up a piece, so I've got to get that piece back. I can't just throw the knight away. But seriously, what about knight c4? Knight c4, queen takes d5. Seems fine for him. So it doesn't quite work. What? Nope, that doesn't work either. So this queen takes. Then either queen or knight takes here. Both I think are fine. Goodness, if I was one file over, I'd have a nice little fork on f3, wouldn't I? I still feel like there almost might be a tactic with knight f3 somewhere. If knight takes d5, how about rook c d8? Still, how about rook d c8? Then we've got the b7 pawn. Got the d7 pawn, b7 pawn. I think b6 keeps his knight out a little bit. But I worry about things like knight e4. I think I play b3 here, b6 here. And if knight e4, what? There's no real threat with knight. Well, yeah, there is. There's knight d6. So how about here, rook c d8? Rook c d8. No, because knight takes his check. Phooey. So queen e6, knight d6. Rook c d8. That's tough. Queen e6, I think, is what I need to play here, but let's double check. Queen e6, knight d6, rook c d8. Then if knight takes, rook take. No, if knight takes, then he takes this queen. Shoot. But doesn't that win for me? I think it's okay. Let me look again. Queen e6, knight d6, rook c d8. Knight takes e8. Oh, no, my queen would be here. So that's fine. That's what I have to play. I'm worried about things like f4 here in a minute, though. Shoot. Well, let's see if I can't maybe swap queens first. Then I won't worry nearly as much about f4. Sure cleared out the center, didn't we? Alright, so I think rook takes here is best. Rook takes. Knight can't come here. It can come here, but it doesn't help anything. So rook takes. Need to watch my back row. So I'll be careful there. He has used an average of less than 20 seconds per move so far because his time is 20 minutes right now. And I'm down 8 minutes from my original clock. Okay, so the threat here would be simply to move into d7, rook d7. But my knight is protecting that square. So is he maybe wanting to come to d5? Rook d5. Okay, how about f5? f5 knight moves. It just doesn't quite work, does it? Knight f3, check, takes. Or win the exchange. No, because takes doesn't work. Takes would... Oh, man. Wait, does that? No, it doesn't because the rook's protected. So what about rook c e8? Rook c e8 seems good. Then I can look at things like f5. He can't come to d7 yet. So I'm looking at discoveries now with knight f3. Knight g5 would seem to deal with that okay. In fact, knight g5 looks bad. I might just be able to play knight e7 or rook e7 though. And then I've still got the no, because knight g5 covers f3. Would not work. But I'm close. If he doesn't play knight g5, I might have some stuff here. But I think knight g5, rook 6 to e7. And it should be fine. Although, am I? Because of f4. I'm going to really regret not having played h6 at some point. He might also. Aha! So he got out of that. I think at this point I play h6, stopping knight g5 anyway. Is there something better? Let me look at f5 anyway. f5, knight, whatever. We'll just assume knight g3 for now. Knight f6, knight f3 doesn't work because takes. And then his rook's defended 3 times and I'm only attacking it twice. So what about knight g4 for me? Knight g4 and he has a knight problem to defend here. Knight g4, knight has to move away. Knight takes h2 could work. I'm going to play h6 first. I'm just looking at so many back rank tactics that it's not good. Also stops knight g5, so there's that. Be good of him to play h3 as well. If he doesn't play h3, then knight g4 is certainly something I can look at. Since knight h2 would be with check. I wonder about things like knight d3 here as some sort of weird exchange. Knight. Okay, so knight g4 is in here. Let me look at knight d3 real quick. Knight d3, rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, rook takes. And he can then get into d7. So I don't like that line. Knight g4. And he needs to defend the knight. However he does that, maybe with... Oh, I see. How about this? Knight g4, f3. Knight g4, f3. Knight takes h2, g1, not king g1, and then I don't have g4 as an escape square anymore. So how about knight g4, f3, f5. Knight moves. And then this is defended twice, so it doesn't quite work again. Thinking about offering a draw here. In fact, let me do that just to see what he thinks. I would take one. So we'll see. I'm going to slide this up just so I can see. I don't know if you can see the draw request sent down there, but I'm going to do that just to see. Let's look at other lines with knight g4. Knight g4, f3 seems best. Is there any continuation there that I like? He declines the draw request, fine. Knight g4, f3. Alright. Knight g4, f3. And then back to knight e5, maybe, if I just incurred a weakness. I don't see that. F5. F5 is something I'm looking at here. Let's go with F5. Now, there's going to be a better discovery on that knight. There just needs to be a better discovery on that knight. What about knight g6? Knight g6, the knight has to move. To where? Does he move anywhere active? Here, no. Here, no. So he's going to have to move back. Knight g6, the knight moves, probably. Or f3. Let's just do this. I've got to do something soon. This is probably a bad move because I settled on it kind of by default. I don't have a plan. The knight doesn't have to move. He can come to rook d4. What about things like knight f4 from here for me? I'm not sure what that does, but I need to slow down and think about it. Rook takes. Rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, king takes. And what's the point? Or can I just simply play rook 8 to e7, takes, takes, and what? Rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, king takes. Let's do that. I want swaps here because I think I want the draw.
Check.
I certainly don't think I have anything active enough to
Check.
try to force a win. Or if he has knight b whatever here, b5. And his king is closer to the center. So if I go knight e5, knight b5, knight c6, I think I'm fine. And I'm going to start trying to get my king into the center. Alright, after knight c6, where does his knight go? Nowhere, really. So if he plays b4, he'll probably play a3 here. See, that's all fine. Now I just come across with my knight, or my king. No checks. If same position, say his king moves. King e8, knight d6, king e7, and I think I'm fine. This just seems like a draw to me. I mean, it's probably possible for me to blunder severely, and I may have already done it several times. I'm not an in-game player at all, so that's why I want the draw sooner than later. Yeah, I just want to get out of here with a draw at this point. If he blunders, fine, but
Check.
see, he can chase me all over the place. I can go king f6 if he goes here, but now we're right back where we were before. I want to keep these pawns nice and solid. So I'm not sure how to do that, honestly. King e6, knight c7. Does that do anything? This stupid bug. King c7. Does that do anything that I need to worry about? No, not really. This gives me a tempo to come here. Though he could fork and get g7. So let's do this. His knight can't come out of here to d4 right now. But if his king protects that square, then it can. I'm really hoping he accepts a draw soon. Right. So what about, yeah, I'll lose my a7 pawn. Can I kick him out of here? Do I want to kick him out of here? Let's say knight a6, knight c7, and then knight c5, and he goes, yeah, I don't want to do that yet. So what about knight e5? No, again, I lose my a7 pawn. So let's just solidify over here. If I go f5, f4, takes, and we just got double isolated pawns, that seems fine. If I go, yeah, let's go f5. Although his king position is a bit better than mine, and his knight's maybe a bit more mobile than mine. Let's just play f6 and stay real solid. Might play h5 with the thought of Ah, this bug. Get out of here. Not sure. I'm still perfectly fine on the clock. Right, at this point, let me look at knight or the king to d7. His entry points here, he can come in this diagonal. So I want to try to stop that diagonal somehow. Or is there anything to this check? Check on e5. And say he continues to one of these two squares. Probably this one, because this one would lose at least a pawn. I think I need to go king e6. King e6, knight here. And king e5. If he goes knight d4, I'd take it. And then I'm going to be looking at things like opposition and all that.
Check.
Alright. I think here I offer a draw again, or I should probably wait on him to offer the draw, but I think it's going to happen now. Okay, so my thought is g4, and then if he plays f5, he's cut off e6, so he could come to e4 without me challenging. If I play g takes f4, he takes g takes f4, and I play f5, that helps me, so I think I'm going to do this. I think if somebody slips and lets the other king in, then this is game over. But I don't get into these kinds of endgames very often, so I'm no expert at them or even very good at them, but I've been trying to learn a little at a time by watching others. So there hasn't been any real study of endgames. So if I make serious blunders, definitely helping me out would be cool after the game, if you're watching this far. I'm not going to mind it too much because, as I said, I don't know much about it. But I'm going to do the best I can, and then accept whatever help is offered at the end. Not taking back the pawn seems like a real big mistake. It just seems like it. Would I not, if say if he played king e4, would I not play f3 and king takes f3 and then play king e5 and then I'm in a little bit more than he is? That seems like to gain some ground to me. I don't know, it seems strange to me. Seems like that wouldn't be a good idea for him. Or maybe he plays, we get his king to f3 and I start going for these queenside pawns. So I guess you can read one line at a time, the chat going on down here maybe. It might be visible, I'm not sure. But I've got that visible so that, okay, now here I play f5 and it's, I think we're good. I think I have superior mobility here. So I mean, I might even have winning chances here. I don't think he does. But this is just, again, I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue. I'm going to be happy with myself, very happy with myself to hold a draw. Just to temper my expectations here a little bit. But I do think that I have the opposition here, don't I? So I don't want the move here, and he has the move. So that's the key. All right, at this point, a6, and he has to commit one way or the other first. And then I lock it down, and it's his turn. So here we go. It's just a draw. It's just a draw. Now wait a minute. What about his tempo gaining stuff over here on the H file? Maybe he can give back the opposition. I still think since I have more room because of the F pawn here, maybe not. I don't know. Can he come over here before I can block with king h5? Or wait, if he play, yeah. See, now I'm going to play h5, and I'm going to give away the opposition here, aren't I? Yeah, this might be bad. He had the double move option, so that's going to help him. So at some point, I'm going to be in Zugzwang here. That's what I didn't calculate. I mean, obviously he just plays h4 here, right? And then he should have the advantage. I don't see any other way to waste a move. So I need to figure out where I'm moving my king, because I'm going to have to move it. h4, king d7, letting him commit, and then he wins that pawn instantly. So h4, king e6, he gets in here, and then I go king d whatever, d7, he comes to king b6, I go king d6, he takes, and yeah, I think I'm just lost. I think I'm just lost here. What about this? Let me look at a different line. King e6 I think has to be the move, so I'll move that sooner than later just to get 20 seconds. But king e6, c5, and boy, I just don't have a good move from after king c5. King e6 and c5. I have to go d7, I think. He gets to b6. I go d6. He takes. I go d5. He takes. I go e4. He goes a6. I take f4. Yeah, I think I can resign here. Right. Let's look at the other way. What if I go king c6? He goes into e5. I go d7. He takes. Yeah, I lose 2 pawns either way. I think I just have to resign. Yeah, he says, now I am going to win. Yes, I know that. I'm going to chat, or I'm going to reply to that. I'm going to go ahead and resign, but I'm not going to humor this. I hate when I do that. That was a pretty rude thing to say. Alright, so I should just play it out, just to make him do it. After he's a jerk. Alright, so here I don't have anything but king d7, I think. And it's just going to be a race. A race which I'm obviously losing, but... I don't think there was, you know, it's just a miscalculation on the H pawn. I thought I had this opposition, and I thought I'd be able to do this if anybody would. Might have been better to go ahead and hide in the corner down here, but he's going to get both pawns, so I don't think it's going to matter. About the only chance I have is maybe to get to f4, and if he wastes tempo trying to get 2 pawns down there, then I might have a shot. If he just sits and delays, then I'll just resign or stop the video. But I won't subject you to a 40-minute wait for him to convert this win. Surprised he didn't take the other pawn, honestly. I'm going to resign. It's not like he doesn't know what to do here. So this is close enough. I'll say thank you for the game and be... Oh, what happened? I must have hit Alt. Good gravy. I hate that. And it's still doing it. Can we not... Is Alt stuck down or something? Thank you for the game. And resign. And that'll be it for the video. If you want to help... I'm not going to listen to him. I'm sure he's going to say something smart. If you want to help with that endgame, that'd be great. To me, it seems like I just miscalculated the H2, but I thought I had the opposition until then. So if there's anything else to it that I missed, then that'd be great. But that was really one of my first serious attempts at an endgame like that. I don't get those very often. And if I do, it's in a blitz game where I'm just firing pieces around. So, yeah, I'd love to hear it. So thanks for watching, guys.